Who are the dual sovereigns that he's talking about? The states and the federal government. Is the federal government sovereign? Well, we used to be before they turned it all over to the United Nations. But yeah, they're sovereign. Where is the federal government sovereign? In Article 1, Section 8, where they receive their 18 assignments, constitutionally what they're supposed to do. Let's do a quick review. How many law enforcement authorities and assignments are given to the federal government by the Constitution? What do they get to do? Now, somebody say, oh, well, that's got to be zero. It's not zero. It's almost zero. What are they? Counterfeiting? Treason? Don't you wish the FBI would investigate treason? Man, those guys would be dangerous. Felonies committed on the high seas or piracies, and then violations, crimes against treaties, which is in there. So it might be those four, but mainly those three. And in Article 10, the Constitution says the federal government's in charge of protecting our borders from invasion. Bang up job they've done there, huh? I guess that epitomizes what Ronald Reagan said about government not being the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. Boy, is there a lot of that going on. And so, in this case, or in my book, I bring up the case one more time. And what did I say? And who backs me up on this? I kind of paraphrased what James Madison said. And you know what's really strange is Scalia, in this Mack-McGee case, quotes Madison all the time. He quotes the Federalist Papers, and he quotes the Constitution. Go figure that. Yeah, amazing. Really a powerful historical document and treatise from Scalia. What did I say? Who's the greatest threat to God-given constitutional American liberty? Our own federal government. How did Madison phrase that? He says it like this, page 19 of the book, last paragraph. There are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments from those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations or foreign attacks. So where's the greatest threat? Washington, D.C. He said it, I just said it a different way. And then on page 1, we talk about another quote from Madison. We can safely rely on the disposition of state legislatures to erect barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. Huh. Can we do that? Well, if we can't, then we need to turn to where the rubber meets the road, and that's the sheriff. What will he allow to be enforced or done in his county is really where we take back America. And can you imagine sheriffs such as Sheriff Mack and standing with others, hundreds of sheriffs carrying the flag of 1776 and today's flag, carrying that banner as if they're marching all the way to Washington, D.C., letting everyone know freedom will be enforced in our county. Federal government, don't even think about it, because we will take you on. I can't wait for the first sheriff, and I've had 2 sheriffs call me and tell me that they're considering this and talking to their county attorney about it. I can't wait for the first sheriff to fire the first shot heard around the world again. The first sheriff who arrests an IRS agent in his county. Page 15 of the book, it goes into the case just a bit, and I'm about ready to close up here, just in case where the person meets the saddle is getting a little restless. We're going to end this pretty quick, but I want to just cover 2 other main points that comes right out of the decision. This is Scalia talking, and Scalia's quoting Madison, and I'm quoting Scalia and Madison. So yeah, Scalia plagiarized, and so do I. You bet. The great innovation of this design is that our citizens need to have 2 political capacities, one state, one federal. We already all get that, right? But get the next line. Each protected from incursion by the other. Whose job is it to protect us from federal incursions? State and local government. And it even gets more specific than that. Let's see. Quoting them again, the local or municipal authorities form distinct and independent portions of the supremacy. Yeah, that is a wow. Get this. No more subject within their respective spheres to the general authority than the general authority is subject to them within its own sphere. End quote. And remember, where do we define the sphere of the federal government? Article 1, Section 8. If the federal government wants to go outside Article 1, Section 8, what must they refer to? The 10th Amendment. All other powers and all other authorities and anything not given specifically to the federal government in the Constitution belongs to the states or to the people, respectively. And who needs to make sure that the federal government follows that rule? State and local officials. It's our job. You want to reiterate that? You want to emphasize that? Scalia does that. Page 16. This separation of the two spheres is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. Structural. It's foundational. It's basic. It has to be a part of it, or we lose a structural protection of liberty. Get this. You want to know how to reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse from the federal government? Scalia says that now. A healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government will reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse from either front. And Janet Reno said this was meaningless. She probably didn't read it. Now he goes on and he says this, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. Wow. That's how we get a double security to our rights and freedom. If we lose that check and balance, we lose a structural protection of liberty. Our sheriffs and our states are responsible for that. You know, when during the Revolutionary War, John Adams was asked, why would we even think about fighting the federal government? Are you kidding? We can't take them out. They got the greatest navy in the world. They've got the biggest army. We've got a bunch of ragtag militia guys. But Patrick Henry answered that question in his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech, too. Armed in the holy cause of liberty, millions of Americans standing together, we will have a lot of help fighting our battles. And we need to make sure that we never forget that this is the work of Almighty God as we stand for freedom for our children and our grandchildren and for each other. You know what? This principle doesn't cut it. As long as they're leaving me alone, then I'm okay. If they're doing it to my neighbors and my fellow Americans, they're doing it to me. Okay? And so, just in closing, and I'm really glad that we have a mixture of Americans here tonight. I think we have some Hispanic Americans, and I know we have some black Americans here tonight, and I know we have some blonde Americans. And we're all Americans. And I will stand hand in hand with any American. That's the requirement, though. You have to be a legal American. I don't care what religion you are, and I don't even care if your religion not at all, or even if you're an atheist. I still invite you to stand hand in hand with us as we fight to take back our freedoms and our Constitution and our country. And so what